Hello everybody, I am Jeffrey Hauser, author of the Learn With series, a bunch of books about Angular interacting with different backends. This is my first React screencast, and I expect that someday it may turn into a book, it may not. I'm not making any promises, but React is probably the biggest UI framework out there for building single page applications, and I want to know more about it. So this is not going to be everything about React. What I'm going to go over in this series of videos, and I have 5 of them planned, I'm going to look at the React Tic Tac Toe tutorial, and there's a few extensions they suggest adding on your own. I'm going to go over those extensions and how I tackle them. First, let's take a look at this Tic Tac Toe application. The user can click, it switches back and forth, and somebody wins. And we keep this running history of buttons. We can jump to any point in the game. Once we get to the end, we can no longer do a selection. Go to the game start to restart. And it just works. And I'm not going to show you the code or how to build it because that's all in the tutorial right up on the React website. What I'm going to review and tackle are these 5 little bonus suggestions at the end.
This screencast will focus on item 2, rewrite the board to use loops to make the squares instead of hard coding them. And I have to admit, I had a lot of trouble with this, and that's why I decided to do this screencast series, because I don't think the information in the tutorial is enough for you to complete number 2 without some external help. So here is one more avenue of external help. I'm back at the code, and what I have up is the component that creates the board. We want to get rid of this hard-coded stuff and basically replace it with an array, which doesn't exist yet, but I'm going to go up here. So like online, a bunch of people do actually something like this. I'm not going to flush this out. Oh, actually, that should be. So I decided I didn't want to do that. So this would be sort of the top level, which you know is 3 rows, and then another loop inside, which would be the 3 columns. That's really moving from one hard-coded approach to another. So what I decided to do is use squares. And the squares, I believe, is the current game board, but really we're using that for the count. And I'm passing in 3 values: the outer item, the outer index, and temp squares. Let's find out what squares actually is. Board current squares. Yeah, it's the current move. So we're going to loop over that, and I'm going to do a constant for number of columns. This is weird because if we're using the squares, which is going to have 9 items, we actually, description will be what we return, we actually want to loop over basically every 3, because we know there's 3 rows and 3 columns in each row. So what we're going to do is we're going to do outer index. Now indexes are 0 based, so and we're going to do this remainder. And if that equals 0, we know we're looking at the third element. So as part of this, and I'm going to get, we're going to need something to do the inner loop. So outer index minus so this starting index is going to be the number of basically either 0, 3, or 6. So representing the starting index. And then we're going to create an inner array from that. Which will be start index and outer index plus 1 to get the 3 items that we're going to loop over. Description equals div class name board. Oh, actually, we can make this a string. And we need to put a key here. I'm going to use the outer index. I had a ton of issues when I was creating this sample and trying to expand it with misplaced keys. It just causes weird issues. When Angular does the redraw, it needs a unique key on each row, or else it really can't tell the difference. And I assume this is for performance reasons under the hood. So boom. What we need here, and this is the part that confused me, we need inner array dot map inner item inner index. So yeah, this is how we do an embedded array. Just really, we use the curly bracket. So a single curly bracket, which is different from Angular, where they often use 2. So something like that. But yeah, and then when you're processing something to display, it needs to be an array. And what I didn't understand originally is that you can sort of embed these inside each other. So where am I? So constant. So because we want to know what square we're on, and then return square. Key equals square index value squares square index on square. I really should have copied this. Handle click. Yeah, let me grab one. Oh, that's wrong quote. Okay. Yeah, and then we shouldn't need this anymore. Now I am getting an error, so what did I do? That's probably it. And finally, yep. So let's look at this again because I just wrote it. We don't know if it works yet because we haven't tested actually. Hey, no errors on the console at least. So we're looping over the squares array, which is a list of all the possible moves where people can click. So we know it's 9 items, and we want to display a 3x3 board, which is 9 items. So we're using the div operator to do the outer index by the number of columns to determine, is this something we should process? Because when we're looping over this squares array, we only want to process every 3 elements. And then we're using that outer index to get a starting index, and we're basically chopping, slicing the full array, that temp squares array. We're slicing it to create an inner array of just the 3 items we need to process here. And then the description is, this is basically our HTML. We're getting the outer one, giving it a key of the outer index, looping over that inner array inside these curly brackets, and recreating our squares, which we should have 3. And let's see if this actually worked. And it did not. I went off screen a little and took a look at the things and found 2 bugs. First, I'll fix the display issue. The problem is it was doing 1 mod number of columns, but we really need outer index plus 1 for number of columns. So that was an order of operations issue, and I messed up with the parentheses. But I got that fixed now, and now we see we have a game board again. Now the issue, we can't go past the second move, and it's always in that first element. So that will mess up. Down here is the square is always sending 0. I forgot to change it when I copy and pasted to reference back to the square index. And if I reload, there we go. And the winner. And we can still jump around. We can play multiple times. So things are going well. And we've solved this problem. Thank you everybody for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. Thank you very much, and check out the Learn With series. In the next episode of this set of React videos, I'm going to take a look at the 3rd item, and we're going to evaluate how to reverse the order display of the history so that the current move is at the top instead of the bottom.